As someone who's doing both the equity and SEL work, one of the things that I've noticed is that when I am in equity spaces where we're having explicit conversations about anti-racism and social justice, you have to engage the SEL process. But that is not true for SEL. It's not true that when you're in spaces talking about social emotional learning that you're engaged in equity processes. And so that's something for us to think about.
Equity is not equality. And I think of it in terms of asking questions. Where's a person at? What do they need, and how do we empower them to get from where they're at to what they need? It's very different for each and every individual. It's very different for each and every group. What do people need to get to where they need to go so that they feel like whole people?
We have to always be aware of our power, privilege, and biases as we're forming these relationships, because when you get to know more about people, you're still going to have those thoughts pop in that are judgmental. So we can't build intentional, truthful, nurturing, and trusting relationships unless we identify and acknowledge power and privilege within dynamics as well.
You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. And the check yourself part is being aware of your own cultural values, your own emotions, your own biases, and sort of having the intention to truly understand the most vulnerable in any population that you're serving. And that understanding comes from seeing value in their story and listening to their story, and also from purposely switching your brain to have the intention to find strengths and using those strengths as leverage points.
We have to look at the power structure, the entire structure, and we have to help children understand their power structure.
Sort of top down, bottom up, like parallel systems where students, administrators, literally on the ground, are doing this inner work, reflecting on their roles in the system, identifying ways that don't facilitate equity, to really understand what equity is.
And I do that by using, reality pedagogy and culturally responsive teaching so that we can address the trauma of systemic racism and oppression in general. So I talk to my students about special education. I talk to them about racism, about food deserts, about violence against communities. And then I open up space for them to reflect on current events and about things that are going on, in their realities. And I think that, that's the way. Our students have feelings, but if we just present it through the lens of this is what's going on, this is the history of education or the history of our country, how do you feel about that? Are there any connections that you can make from the text to yourself or from this text to the world? I try to, tie in what's going on and then allow that space for them to say oh, I've seen that before, or I felt that way before. I remember, when I was in middle school and I was getting in a lot of trouble and then we had a meeting. They have it inside of them. And I think it's just allowing those opportunities to reflect on systemic violence and oppression, and they'll make the connections themselves a lot of times.
And the validation that that light bulb that you see when they go oh, so it's not me.
Exactly.
It's not me. You are taking tons of weight that they had, that they feel guilty, that they feel dumb, that they feel all these things that they told them that was their responsibility or their parents' responsibility.